everyone, welcome back to a little bit discombobulated. So I've just come back from the gym, had a decent session, nothing crazy, but yeah, just want to get back into the routine. So yeah, it's pretty overcast today, but I think we're gonna have kind of like a heat wave soon. So for the next week it's gonna be like 30 degrees plus. So anyway, recently because of the heat kind of ramping up and we're kind of in spring now, even though it's been really cold, but I did want to get kind of some summer freshies and kind of go back to kind of my roots in the sense that like some of the classic fragrances that I used to have growing up that I have nostalgia about now, which can actually still really work now and which I really like. And this one I have a story with this one, so it's going to take like some time, but like this is my initial re-impression of kind of getting this fragrance back, and that is this one. It's CK1. This is what the box looks like. So yeah, just a generic white box, and I think it's always kind of been like this. I can't remember what it was like back in the day, but this was my teenage fragrance, and it basically comes, I got the 200ml because it was like on a really good offer, but it usually comes with this, it's like a bottle cap. It's kind of weird, but it kind of comes, so I'll show you the bottle. It comes like this with this bottle cap, and then you have to unscrew it and put the atomizer in, which is kind of interesting. Like, I don't know why they do that. It's kind of a weird thing. I don't know if I like it or not, but I guess for now it's kind of a classic touch because they've always kind of done this. It's just, you've probably seen this before, right? Like, you've probably seen this around and you don't really care about it anymore, but I think I'm gravitating more towards the older fragrances like the CK1 and yeah, things like that. And for me, I have a story with CK1. So I flash back to the year 2000 when I was kind of like 14, and I have a vivid memory of having like the smaller bottle, like the 50ml probably, or maybe the 100ml, but it was a smaller bottle, and we went to Pakistan because my uncle was getting married and it was in Pakistan, and as a family we all went, and I have like a vivid memory of it. And the conditions were quite cold for Pakistan. I think it was like winter, and we lived in an area where it was like a bit like a desert in the sense that it would get really cold at night. So actually the conditions were quite cool and the mornings were really cool, and I remember the youthful energy of kind of waking up and having this CK1 I kept it in my toiletries sort of bag. So, my toothpaste and everything was in there, and I just remember like, I'd love to have that shower in the morning and like spray this immediately on me. And I really enjoyed it during that period from like, I don't know when this came out, but like I remember definitely having it in 2000, but like maybe before in the 90s as well, to like, I don't know, 2002-ish. Like, so between 13 years old to like 14, 15, 16, maybe 17, I don't know, but like on and off I would have this. I would definitely have it in my collection. And I wasn't super into fragrances back then. It was like literally like I'm just becoming a man, right? Like I'm just from a boy becoming a man. So like I didn't really wear that many fragrances. Maybe I had like Allure on or something, like, or my dad had it or something, or we just had it in the bathroom, and I would try my dad's fragrances. But that's one thing I wanted to like talk about is this came out. This is to me a landmark fragrance for like the general public, because this came out at a time when the fragrance world, like for the mass appealing like general fragrances that people would buy, would be, they were just getting into the unisex side. So this is when around the year 2000, Y2K was happening. Things looked on the up general, like it seemed like, wow, like, we're getting modern, and the art was amazing, and like, the Matrix came out around then, and like everything was so beautiful and like so hopeful for the future. Like, not that, like it was like everything's just improving. Like, when are we going to stop? The iPhone came out afterwards, but like, technology was kind of improving to a point where like we were like, wow, I can't wait until we get to the future, right? And this kind of holds some of that youthful exuberance for me. But yeah, I remember I was in Pakistan, and it was just good in those conditions, like the cooler conditions, which I believe, like, the notes in this, I'll come to the notes, but it's not like one that you might want on a very hot day with direct sunlight. It might be a bit overwhelming on that day. But for like cooler spring days or like evenings, or if you're indoors, I think this is a really good choice still. So, but anyway, going back to like my story with this, so it just reminds me of that era. And in that era, there was like a term metrosexual, where like, that was in all the advertising. People didn't used to have like stubble or anything. They used to be clean shaved. like all your stars and everything were like clean shaved. Like men were kind of very much, you know, clean and sporty looking. Like you had Eminem coming out, you had like the baggy pants and everything era from the 90s, like going into the 2000s. But like I think in the 2000s things were like slimming out a bit. Like, you know, your trousers were becoming a bit less baggy. You know, people were getting a little bit more into like the sports style fashion, I think. And metrosexual was definitely a word which was invented around that time, in my opinion, or I just heard about it then. It was like that concept of like, as a man, you can still be masculine, but you're in tune with your emotions, you're in tune with your inner self, like your feminine side. Like, I do believe men have a feminine side, women have, you know, an alpha masculine side as well. And I, you know, growing up, I was always like, you know, I was never like the macho type. I was never like at school like the most manly man or like the most alpha person. Like, I have my own leadership skills in my own way, but I would never be like, you know, the jock, like, or like the somebody who's like amazing at sports or anything. So this reminds me of that, of me kind of as a teenager. And not that I've changed massively, so I can still wear it now. Like, I still feel fine wearing it as an older person, but it just reminds me of like that youthful period, and, you know, not having to be like a macho sort of person or not having those standards. And it became cool to kind of be like a nerdy sort of intellectual person who's like into his emotions, who has like more than one dimension, who can cry, who can, you know, like art, like dancing. That's what this reminds me of. And that was a period where I was like really into my Michael Jackson, really into dancing, which I'm kind of getting back into now that movie came out. But even then, like, I don't want to buy into the hype, because I do feel like I don't really like hype trains and stuff, but I like, you know, it's always part of me, that aspect of me. So anyway, that's what it reminds me of. And like, I love the glass feeling. It feels cold to the touch, kind of, even. And it's just a fresh feeling and a nostalgic feeling for me. But, and also I want to talk about, it was a change. This brought in a new era of those kind of unisex fragrances. So my dad, for example, wore a lot of Aramis, and, you know, that's like really spicy, really kind of heavy, like a powerhouse fragrance. Or like Eternity for Men, the original one, the EDT, which again is like very kind of spicy, very barbershop, very sort of like masculine. And they don't make fragrances like that as much, or they're kind of in between now that, you know, now everything's kind of unisex and stuff. But during that time, this was the first one that I came to kind of see as a unisex fragrance. And to me, this has something different to like even the Acqua di Gio's, the, you know, everything that was around then, which kind of looks similar. They all kind of jumped on the hype trend. But to me, this one is the most unisex, and this one is like the most floral, which for some, and even for me, sometimes I don't like that floral aspect of it. But I think in spring, when it's kind of cooler, like these conditions now in the UK, it's really nice. Like, I tried it the other day for the first time. So like, let me spray on a bit just to kind of remind myself. Yeah. It just brings me back to that time, but you definitely immediately pick up on the citrus. I think there's some citrus. I don't know the exact notes, but there's some citrus and there's like definitely a floral. And that the citruses die down and the freshness is like super fresh. It's like just out of the shower, or like some laundry, sort of fresh laundry. It's so good on the opening, to be honest. And as it dries down, definitely, I remember like when I wore this the other day, the florals came out. So the florals are very sort of love or hate on this. But I think in the right weather conditions, they are really nice. They're not, it's again, it's very unisex. Like, I think as a man, you just feel like clean. You just feel confident, clean. Nobody's going to hate this kind of DNA. And they're going to think, to be honest, if you wear this now, they might actually think you're quite different. So if they're the younger generation, they might actually be like, what is this guy wearing? Like, it's kind of different, right? Like, nowadays you get like sweet fragrances, you get like Middle Eastern, which I love as well. I love sweet and Middle Eastern, but I like standing out, and I like having something that means something to me in my heart, and also that is a timeless classic. And this is the new formulation. So I think the new still lasts a long time, and it's still pretty, like, it smells exactly the same to me, but like it still gives you that longevity. Like, it lasts me a decent amount for a fresh fragrance. It lasts me probably like definitely over 6 hours, and it does die down a bit, but I can still smell it on me, and I get whiffs of it here and there, and it's really nice. And it's just, it's got a bit of like a baby powder, so like youthful energy, not powder, but that sort of clean feeling. And it definitely takes me back to the early 2000s when everything was good in life, like when there was hope and people were nice, and you know, you don't have the internet so much, we don't have smartphones so much. We actually cared about each other. Like, I want to live like that, and this kind of brings me back to that vibe. So if you're on the fence, and if you want something different, you want something new, and for these conditions where it's like overcast sometimes, but like not super hot, I know we're coming up to the heat wave, and I think even you could probably wear this in the evenings in the heat wave. Definitely try it, but I go like 2 sprays, like behind the neck and behind my ear on either side, and if I'm wearing clothes, like if I'm wearing long sleeves, maybe like on my shoulders or like in the crook of my sleeve, maybe even on my hand, which I've been doing the hand more often, even though that's where I usually test like I did now. But it's nice sometimes to have it on that part, not the wrist. Like the wrist is kind of okay, but this part, I feel like it comes less in contact with my clothes. It's not gonna be under my long sleeve. And also, you know, when I'm typing on my PC or just out and about, I can just really get like a whiff of it coming up and down and stuff. So for me, I enjoy it on the on my actual palm, which is kind of weird because like I don't think people talk about that enough. But look at the bottle. If you've grown up in as a millennial and you've grown up in the times that I've grown up in, this is like something to bring you back to that beautiful era. So I would say definitely check this out. You know, I don't know if one day they're going to discontinue it. You know, always with these things, when they do, it's a sad day when it's gone. So I would say, like, you know, appreciate what you have now, appreciate the new stuff, appreciate the Middle Eastern houses, which are like budgeted well, appreciate niche if you can afford it, but, you know, appreciate whatever's happening now. But, you know, if something speaks out to you, you have a spot in your heart for it, or if you're a young guy or girl and you don't mind delving into like, you know, classic fragrances, you can actually smell a lot different with this stuff. And it, yeah, like I said, it's groundbreaking because this was the first one in my mind that hit it out of the park, being a unisex fragrance, and it changed the game to the point where even now it's unisex. Like, you know, after this we had stuff like Dura Homme Intense, or the Dura Homme, the original, and then the Intense, which to me again upped the game to like say, okay, we like unisex, we like the fresh floral smell, but now we want to add a makeup-y sort of smell to it, which is kind of crazy, but we love that as men. Dura Homme and Dura Homme Intense is still a classic, it's still one of my babies. You know, I just have the Intense now, but you know, maybe I'll pick up one of the Dura Homme originals at some point. But that's what I'm saying, like, I don't think this gets enough credit and this gets enough love on the internet. So here's me, you know, as a new channel, I want to give the love to the oldies like this. I'm not going to just review oldies, but definitely think about, you know, nostalgia, think about my upbringing and like what my personal kind of stories are with these things, because I think it's really important that we all have a story with these things. And, you know, maybe you can make your own story now in 2026 with this fragrance. And with our conditions in the UK, I think it's perfect because you could wear this all year round, but definitely like in the mid-seasons, like autumn, spring, and going into summer, maybe some summer days as well, you could definitely pull this off. And like I said, even in the cold conditions in Pakistan, where it felt like not freezing, but like it got down to like, I don't know, below 5 degrees, it was still really nice. So I would say definitely check it out. CK1 by Calvin Klein. You can pick it up real cheap. And yeah, let me know in the comments what you think about this one. Thanks, and see you next time.